Hey guys, it's Viejo here, and we are at near the end, I guess, of the second week of August in 2024. Another nice day here on Central Coast of California. Daytime temperatures are in the 70s, so that's nice. No rain and not much fire right here in my area, thankfully at this time. Hey, this is going to be the last part of this saga of rebuilding this RL550B that I received from a friend. He brought it, wanted to sell it, and I said, yeah. He's well, he's retired now from the range, but he was an RSO at our local range, and it was in generally good shape. It was just dirty and grimy, and it was missing parts. Didn't have any of the priming system on it. It had an older style powder measure that I didn't like. I wanted the newer style with Failsafe rod and bell crank and so forth on. The other one just used a set of springs up here to return the powder charge bar. And if you're just now joining in on this series, this is going to be the last part, and I do have a playlist linked in the description box below for the whole thing. In the first part, I just kind of showed you what I had to start with. Then in the next part, we took the press all apart, tore it all down to the bones, and then the next one we cleaned it all up. I showed you how I got it cleaned up and the products I used to get it clean with. Then we put it all back together, that got it up to the point where I had received it, minus the parts that this thing was missing. And so we had to get a few parts in from Dillon, and that's what we're going to look at today, getting those pieces put in place. And that was largely the Failsafe system for the powder measure and the priming system, which was missing, and a couple of other little bits and pieces here and there. And then we did some upgrades. But anyway, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at the pieces and parts that I added to this to get it up to its current condition of 100% operation. The first thing that we did, and we mentioned this on the previous one, is get it set up on a inline fabrication quick mount system. They're available there specifically for the RL550 press. And I also added the double bin bracket and cartridge slide. We'll take a quick look at that a little bit later here. And the first thing that we needed to do, there were a couple of pieces that had to be installed onto the shell plate platform. This bracket right here has to do with the Failsafe system, and there's another one over here on the back that has to do with the primer system. So let's get those stuck on there first. I needed this roller bracket, it's called, okay, and that's where our cases slide into place. So it comes with the roller already installed, and that's part of our priming system. It's where the op rod rolls on, okay? And the case spring comes with this, as does the little screw that holds it in place there. There are a couple of screws underneath there. And it also includes the little primer guide there. When we knock dead primers out, they drop down through there into the primer cup. So we had to replace that. This bracket is the holds down bracket for the Failsafe rod. That was missing, so we had to replace that. All right, I was going to replace the shell plate platform, but when I looked up online, it was 50 bucks. So I cleaned it up a little bit more and did some cold bluing on it, and then wiped it down real good with some Ezox protectant, and we'll call that good. It looks okay now, and it's plenty serviceable. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It was just kind of grody looking. But before that goes back on top of the ram, we got a couple of other things to consider. One is this piece right here is going to mount up underneath there, and that's where the Failsafe rod hooks in. And then this piece right here is part of the priming system, and that bolts in from the bottom. This piece was included with the new priming assembly, except they did not include the screws. There were a couple of screws that were in there. It was these guys, but those don't work. They protrude up too high. And just fortunately, I had a couple of the correct size that would fit in that chamfered hole there. Okay, so this piece here fits on here like that. Okay, and then the holes down in there have to kind of line up. And we can set this assembly then on top. Get the holes close there. And we'll get the couple of bolts started. Okay, I've got these 2 bolts started. And we'll get those down in. You gotta like these ball end Allen wrenches for this kind of work. And this one's being a little tight. It's like something is in the threads. It's not real tight, but it's, there we go. It's just a little rough down in there, I guess. And this guy now has to be aligned, so we're going to leave it loose. All right, and with the shell plate and the associated parts removed, this is the alignment tool. You can buy these separately, but since I bought the Failsafe rod kit, this came with that kit. So the drill here is that when this platform comes up, or actually when it comes down, it needs to be aligned such that the primer cup will fit in there, and then when it goes up, we got to make sure that everything is aligned up here with the die. So what we do is we put a powder funnel die empty in there, drop the tool in, and then what we're going to do is make sure that that alignment is there. And kind of while that is in place, you have to get in here then and tighten these 2 bolts down. All right, my tool is lined up, and I've got one Allen key in there, and we'll give that one a good tight and drop it down over here and get the other one, and making sure the tool is engaged there. Okay, let's make sure we're still aligned, and we are. Yeah, I'm tightening my other bolt there. Okay, so those should be good. Those are good and tight, and we are apparently aligned. Okay, so there's those 2 pieces. That was easy enough. And then the next thing we did was go ahead and install the auto prime system, and this also came as a kit. And here's what comes in that kit. Okay, you have, you know, the 2 different primer slides, large and small, the primer tube and shroud, the op rod, and a couple of other smaller bits. So let's go look at that and get that installed. Okay, now it's time to install our new primer assembly. So we've got the shield here and kind of the main housing down here. Oh, here it is already on there. So this little plate goes on there first. That was part of the kit. Okay. We can kind of set the slide bar on there momentarily. Well, it's probably easier to just go ahead and get this guy started on there. The little wheel has to go outboard of this. And we can set this in here approximately. And we've got 2 bolts that are the same size. So they don't matter which goes where. We'll get one in there and get it started and held in place, and we can do the other one. Let's get this cup out of the way. Okay, then we have a couple of adjustments that have to be made here, because this is going to control how far inward we can go, or actually how far back we can come. That way. So if I bring my ram down now and get this guy lined up, and then back this one out till it touches the stop here. That will keep it from going too far in. And stand by, I'll get a small wrench and tighten that. And then we have to reattach our primer slide return spring here, and that just comes up and fits over that little post right there like that. There's kind of a little groove cut into that, really easy. Okay, the next thing I had to do was go ahead and reinstall a shell plate and the indexing star, which we replaced with the new one. And we did that. We showed you how to do that in the previous episode, but we mentioned then that we had to redo it in order to get the shell plate platform aligned, which we just showed you how to do. So there's no need for me to show you putting this stuff in. Let's go on to the next thing, which is getting our Failsafe system installed. And I ordered the powder measure Failsafe kit. It's a little different than what's on the original 550B. So this is the same setup that comes on our 550Cs now. And with that kit, you get the return rod bracket, you get the Failsafe rod itself and its associated parts. You also get this bell crank system, which I didn't need, but I'm going to use that to upgrade one of the other powder measures that I got from Tom. This is a powder measure that I already had installed on this tool head that we're going to be using here a little bit. So, and you also get the alignment tool that you need to have to align the shell plate with your dies, okay, and the primer system. I already had one of those tools, but it came with the kit anyway. So these little tabs here, they come from Inline Fabrication. They make it easier to remove and replace the locator pins. And then kind of the only other standard pieces I needed a couple of the tool head pins here that I didn't have when I got the press from Tom. Okay, so, and that takes us then up to kind of pretty much a standard setup, but then we added a few more bits and pieces as far as upgrades, so let's take a look at a couple of those. So this is the double bin mount and chute system from Inline, and it's made to fit over here. So we mount this up first, and then we'll put the chute in. And these holes in the quick change plate were threaded already. Okay, that's good and stout. And let's get it the right direction. It goes this way. It's got a cutout, as you can see there, for the handle. Sorry, I swiped the camera there. All right, and you can get this kit with or without bins, and I got plenty of bins, so I did not need that. And let's make sure the handle clears. Yeah, I'm looking to see if that handle clears in there all the way down, and it does. So these bins then just slide on like that. One is our catch bin for the completed rounds, and then our brass goes over here in this bin. So we feed from here, okay, and then our completed round slides down the chute right into the bin. Okay, it's very, very nicely executed system from Inline. Okay, here's the basic lighting system from KMS Squared. I have a power supply, but I got theirs. I think it'll work with the power supplies that I have. Got an extra switch. Again, I don't really need it. I've got a switch already there. Here is the LED light. You can see what shape that is. That's going to fit underneath where the tool head goes. Got a couple of other things. I needed another extension cable, so I got that. And they also now have a little dimmer switch, so I'm going to try that. Okay, this guy comes with instructions, and they're fairly straightforward. If you've ever done these things before, they have you clean up and degrease the area where the light's going to go. Okay, and they also include some clips. I'll show you those. There's a little UFO LED press lighting system, and with the dimmer switch, we have a number of different settings for that light. It's even got like a strobe. I don't know what that's all about, but here's the little clips that KMS Squared gives us now. They're sort of a rubbery plastic. They just sort of push down in there, and they've got a guide there for your cable, keeping it out of the way nicely. And I did add the primer early warning system. So we ordered that direct from Dillon. And you guys know how that works, right? When your primers get low, the rod comes down and sets off that beeper, and you've got 4 or 5 primers left. When you store that, you put your primer follower in first and then let the arm come down on top of it so it doesn't keep screaming at you. I installed the primer track bearing kit. This is available off eBay. With the original primer system, the slide bearing plate only comes to here. It's the black one that you see up there in the inset. So this one, we get a polished stainless steel slide that comes all the way back to here, and that roller bearing. And what this does, you know, when the primer slide is all the way back on the standard plate, you know, half of this thing is sticking out and it can move up and down. The return spring pulls against the bottom, and that can cause a little bit of lift, particularly up at the front end, and that can let grit and grime and stuff collect underneath there. Not only that, but when this is coming back, the op rod only, you know, pulls against one side, the right side here. With this bearing installed, the primer slide has an opposing force over there, and it's going to move a little bit straighter line, and we get a more highly polished slide that's a little bit longer as well. So I have that also installed on my 550C over there. It's not expensive. Does it help a whole lot? No, helps a little. Okay guys, there it is, all back together, all running 100%, upgraded to the point where it's all almost identical to my 550C over there, so operation is going to be seamless from one press to the other for me. Looking pretty good right now. All right, there it is. Again, if you want to see the press in action, you got to go over to the Rumble channel, and if you don't know how to find me there, you just go to rumble.com and type in my channel name in the search field up there. It's just Walter Bunning, all one word, all run together like that, and you'll find my channel, and you'll be able to locate this series, I'm sure. If you know, kind of been following along, it may look like it took me a long time to do this, and it didn't really. I had this thing all done in maybe one full day over the course of several days. You know, an hour here, an hour there, so to speak. But it wasn't difficult at all. Anybody can do this. If you decide to tackle a project like this with your 550B, where you have to punch these pins out, I would recommend that you dig up a nice brass punch. I got this one after the fact, actually, and it was a kit of several nice brass punches I got from Amazon. It needs to be long enough to pass all the way through. If you remember on that first one, you had to start from the other side here and punch this pin out. The other pin's hollow, and then come in from this side to get the first one out. So you got to have one that's of reasonable length. And then one of my subscribers mentioned that as an alternative, if you've got a steel punch like this, you might try sliding a small brass cartridge case over the end of this and use that, so that you're not steel on those pins. I didn't do any damage at all. This is actually the punch that I used, and it worked fine, but there's always that possibility of messing up one of these pins, or accidentally striking the inside of the frame here. Up to you. If you're careful, I think you can do it with a steel punch. But it was a fun project for me. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe got a little bit out of that. If you got any questions or comments, or need further information about this press, go ahead and post them in the comment section below. But from the Viejo bench for now, that's all she wrote.